Hi group, how are you? How are you tonight? We are fine.
Very good.
You're good. We are going to talk about Snowy Town by Readworks. Do anyone knows what is Readworks? It is an author, it is a collective, what it is?
I've heard that it is a web page when you can find like many readings to in a different levels of the language, right?
Okay, someone else had someone to say?
Yeah, I have heard that it's a web page in which one can find, for example, short stories like for beginners, so for example, one language, and that's a nice start point from readers, I guess.
So my first question about the text is, what do you think about stories about snow without you unknown the snow? How do you feel about it? Do you could feel how was like cold, or you can feel anything in the story? What do you feel?
Yeah, I feel like less connected with the story because the context it is not something that I have lived. So that means that I feel like I don't belong to that story, and I couldn't belong because I don't know the context.
I feel related with the feeling of going out after some days that you stay at home. So I think that that was like wonderful because the way they described that it is like, and everything was like shining and everything was colorful. The blue ceiling. So I think that that was awesome because some days like in vacations I stay at home, and then when I go out I think that everything is like really beautiful.
Actually, it's a context in which personally I would like to belong or I would like to explore because here we don't have winter, we don't have snow often, or it's not common here. So it's something that on winter we can do a lot of things. Rather if we don't have winter, if we don't have snow. So it's a good story. It's something that describes the joy of childhood in the winter. So that's why I like it, and I would like to do that too.
Someone else?
Yeah, actually, based on the story in all the movies I have seen, I would like to experience this season of this weather and this situation because for me it would be wonderful, like to do angels on the snow, to like feel the satisfaction, sorry, to drink a hot cup of chocolate. So yeah, it would be like great.
Okay. About the genre, discursive genre, we know that there's two. There was a primary and a secondary. What would you think that the story is? A primary genre discursive or a secondary?
It is a secondary, right? Because it is reading.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but if we consider, the story itself and the conversations that are made inside the story, they would be considered as primary. So we have to keep in mind that.
Yeah, well.
Well, we were talking like before that what matters is like the format in which it is presented to us, right? So in that sense, I think that it is secondary.
Exactly. I agree with you because it's in written form. That means it doesn't like involve an oral or a conversation itself.
Yeah, but I'm talking about this story. I mean, if you put yourself like inside the story and you have like the conversations, that would be considered, I mean, the whole story as a primary. And yeah, the way the it is presented to us, yeah, of course it is a secondary. Yeah.
But also it involves a narrator. That means it has both sides, an oral and a written form. But in general, is more written than oral.
Yeah, and that's the objective of the web page that is
Readworks.
like Readworks, right? That it presents us like written story, so it is a secondary one, I think.
Okay, let's see what the passage predictor, one passage predictor can share what they could predict, please.
Okay. As a passage predictor, I found interesting things in the story that I would like to share with you. But first of all, I have two predictions. So I would like to make the first one to read a little bit the text to get like the context, and then we discuss what do you think about it, you comment, and at the end I would like to make like the contrast what really happened in the story. So first, the first prediction that I made was in the line 10. A little bit about the text. It says, they walk through Johnny's neighborhood, passing people who look glad to be outside too. A few blocks down, Johnny saw his friend Marcus building a snowman with his big sister Mary. So here comes the prediction. Johnny will greet his friend Marcus and his sister and ask them to do a competition of who could make the biggest snowman. As Johnny was accompanied by his dog, he made a snowman but with the shape of a dog.
Okay, someone has any comment for that prediction?
Like that making a snowman is kind of boring from my point of view. Snowball war would be better. I don't know, even when I didn't experience the snow, that's what I think. I don't know.
Okay, I agree like with the last part of the prediction, because I think that children tend to represent like what is the thing that is the most like near of the to them, you know, and in this case it would be like the dog, and it would be like a snow dog, and it's kind of funny, but I agree with you in that part.
Okay, someone else?
Yeah, I'm afraid that I disagree with you in the part that you, no, with Juan Camilo. Don't worry.
Okay.
In the part of when you said that maybe they will like have a competition between them. I think that they are friends, so that means they would like to build a snowman as a group. So I think, yeah, they are not going to have a competition.
If they're children, I mean, as first summarizer, he's just assuming a role that children can have in the snow. Yeah, I personally am not able to agree with Paco's position, because I think that joy and fun is like a thing that we cannot assume if we haven't had that experience yet. Yeah, so that's the only reason why I cannot agree with you.
I think that I agree with Santiago, because I think that is something that is like really cultural. So if you don't live in that country, or if you don't live around the culture, and they tell you, oh, this is fun, then you're not gonna have fun, you know. So for instance, here we have some toys, some games, the way we play it, and that is okay. So they tell us this is fun and this is how we have fun. But if we go there, we're probably not gonna have fun with the same games or toys or even the names of the movies. So I think that is all cultural, and yeah, that's why I agree with Santiago.
Yeah, even from my point of view, I thought that it was like those kind of the games that one will make, for example, when we are young. I thought that, for example, it was funny to them to do like the competition, but then I found the same that Karen says, and is that in the story they are close to do like the work together, and the story told us that they asked Johnny to do like to roll the snow, to pack in the shape of the snowman together, and then they built the snowman together. So that's the contrast of the variation.
Okay, let's see with the other question. What do you think that is the type of the text of this text?
Oh, it's a literary one, right?
It's a tale.
Because it is a tale.
Or short story.
short story.
Short story. That will tell it's not strong.
Okay. And what about the locutor and the interlocutor in the lecture? Will be the first one, the locutor. What will be? Who will be?
Writer, right?
Writer?
Locutor is writer for me.
Someone announced that we could infer that it comes from reports, so we could say that reports is the author of the story.
But-
I'm sorry. I believe that depends of the kind of web page that is reports, because there are some web pages that are just they are just a space for people to publish the stories. Like, I don't know, what's the name of this web page that mostly women share?
Wattpad?
Wattpad, for example. Yeah, like that kind of. I mean, that doesn't belong to because that doesn't belong to Wattpad. That belongs to the author, right? So that depends on the type of web page that Breadworks is.
Okay. A person that the word wizard would like to share a word that had found that it's interesting to share. A word wizard.
Okay, I found like first word is I didn't know what was mittens, so I looked for it, and it is a noun, and the definition is a globe having one section for the thumb and a single section for the other fingers, and it could be also a boxing glove. An example of the words of this word in a sentence is this night is so cold. I need a pair of mittens So another word of my partner, I don't know.
Yeah, I found a word. It's to bundle up. This is a verb, and the definition of it is to dress warmly or snugly. So it means that in this way we dress for getting warm or for being hot. Yes. And I did it in a sentence that says, for going out to a snowy mountain, I bundle up in my winter coat and my scarf.
Okay. Excuse me, guys. Could you please tell us the line before you start making the definition of the word, or
Yeah, what?
Oh, if you please.
What is
If you please.
Okay, mittens is in the second line of the first paragraph, like at the end of the second line.
And
Okay.
to bundle up is on the first line of the first paragraph, when it says he bundled up in his heavy winter coat. Yeah.
okay, much better?
Now we have quite a big question. It would be, what would be the social control of a speech of the text?
As a super summarizer, I feel that the reader wants that the writer, wants the reader to recreate the imageries. I think that's part of the contract, because as we can discuss later, it gives us like some definitions and some nouns that makes us imagine things and the scenario and all the characters. Yeah, it's very visual. So I think that's part of the contract. Yeah, you don't have to believe it, but you have to recreate it.
I think that the other aspect of the text is like that you have like to be loyal, and if you start reading, then you have to keep reading. So I think that that's something that you have to do. if you start reading, then you have to end, go to the end. And if you do that, I mean, sorry, if you read the whole text and you don't get bored, I think that is a good text, a good story. So I think that the writer, whoever it is, made a nice job.
Yeah, I think that's a good difference that we can find from the literary written works from the maybe the scientific works. I mean, there are so many scientific documents that we don't really have to read it all. We can just read the introduction and what are the ideas that they want to share and what are the conclusions. We don't have to read every single part of the scientific work. That's a nice point.
It's okay. And let's see.
Yeah.
Karen?
Also, I think that the author wants to like to originate in the reader emotions. So yeah, that is important. In our cases, maybe the emotion will be nostalgic, a little bit sad because we don't have this season or this in here in Colombia. So yeah.
I agree with you because I think the story is about this kind of hopelessness that find kids in December when they are close to Christmas and they are going to receive gift and they are going to eat a lot. That kind of hopelessness is what I think that the author wanted to express, just like you said. You were saying something, Pablo?
Yes, that I agree with Karen because that feeling make us like I don't know, like make different inferences and interpretations, and when we are sharing that, we can play with that interpretations because, for example, when Karen is talking, probably I don't know, Camilo can like make a connection with his childhood, I don't know, and then another person could, hey, it reminds me something, and then we can like start a little discussion about our childhood or something related with the text. So I think that's a good like idea about this text.
Okay.
If I want to share.
And according with those ideas, I think that we have to be aware as teachers what kind of stories we are going to like to present to our students, because I think a story about the snow in this context is not like really like it's not going to involve many aspects that the student will learn or something like that. So I think that this story maybe is will help them to learn something new, but also is not that touching to them.
Yeah.
And this, want to share?
At least for me, it created no emotion at all because that's it. I live in Colombia, I don't have snow. And I think the only thing I can relate to is the pet thing because he had a dog and I used to have tons of dogs in my childhood. But I mean, as you said before, the tales we chose to show to our students are really important to take into account because, for example, this story didn't create nothing at all for me, and I believe this story it's too nothing really happens here. I mean, it's too calm. At least for me, those kind of story doesn't get a hook on me, and I just simply don't get a feeling for it.
Okay, let's see the creative connectors can share what they found.
Okay, I found, as a creative connector, I relate the text with my experience because I was born in a small town where it's cold always, and my connection is I used to play with my cousin when she visited me in the yard from my house. And if the climate prognosticate rain, My mom told us that it was necessary come back into the house to avoid to catch some air, and it's the same situation that the children in the text present, because Johnny and Marcus they are playing in the yard, and his mom in some moment his mom calls them, and um, and these children and go to in the in come back into the house, because she offered them hot chocolates. So for me, it's a familiar situation. So I remember some aspects from my childhood. So yeah, this text my I found some connections. So, yeah.
Yes, actually, I did like the same of those connections. For example, I differ of those ideas that it's nostalgic and it is a little bit sad because of the snow. Because to me, it is kind of about dreaming. For example, one can imagine like rolling the snow to make a snowman, like packing them to build the whole snowman, and to me it's like a story about happiness, for example, because it is so spontaneous the way the children, like for example, build the snowman, and then at the end of the story the dog like run into the snowman to hug the snowman and destroy it. So it is like funny the way it happens spontaneously, and to me it's like kind of the funny of being a child, you know. So, and at the end it say that one can build another one tomorrow. So that's like, yeah, if you have, for example, a problem or something wrong, don't worry about it, because tomorrow will be another day and that's okay. So to me it's like kind of that.
I agree with Juan Camilo, because in the last part that you mentioned, it's something that invite us to reflect in the way that we act daily in our daily lives. For example, if we how do we face problems? We don't have to forget the innocence of children, because they teach us a lot. So this is an invitation for not forgetting to be a child or kids, being even adults.
Okay, let's see about another question. What do you think the topic of the test is? What's the main topic? It is a main topic in the test?
Yeah, maybe friendship, yeah,
Childhood.
and maybe how is the atmosphere in a winter cold season and more in December.
I think that is like sort of a list, like a list of things that are good, like during the winter, but they are like they were like spread in the text. So, for instance, we can find the question: does anyone want chocolate? Hot chocolate that I represent right here. So they are building this snowman, and okay, this is a door, and it says, "This is an amazing snowman. Does anyone want some hot chocolate?" So I think that imagine that you are out freezing, and then your mom says, "Do you want some chocolate?" You will say yes, hell yes. I'm freezing. I'm really cold. I want it.
Yeah.
Okay, we have here some chocolate sometimes, um, and we want to drink something cold when we get in our homes. So imagine the same situation, the same feeling, but with chocolate. So you will say hell yes, but we cannot relate really to this kind of feeling because the beverage that we use is a different one, and the weather is a different one, and the customs that they have here and in that country they are different. So I think that this is sort of a list of things that the winter or the Christmas brings to the people. So like when someone is like related with all those kind of things, whoever reads this text is gonna say, hell yes, I I lived this. I enjoyed that. That happened to me. My mom said that, you know? So that's how I feel, or that's how I see the text.
The other artistic artists would like to share what they draw?
Yes, and putting in context, that part that I choose is in the fourth line that says that there were icicles hanging from tree branches and snowbanks that rose all the way up to Johnny's knee. And this is like my representation that there are some trees with the icicles in the branches, you know, and the dog and the guy just walking through the snow, like making footprints, and the tail of the dog. There are a detail like simulating the movement, you know, and that part for me is kind of interesting because it's like the contrast, because here you can like see that the trees that are without like leaves, you know, but there are the same trees, but it's like pines, you know, but with icicles. It's cooler than here. And the thing is that, for example, here, have you ever seen that guayacanes? It's like the Japanese sakuras that when they bloom, it's like a pink tree, you know? It's so beautiful, yes. I don't know, I believe that the icicles in the branches are kinda dangerous because it could just fall over you and then
Another question.
Trees like maybe will, I don't know, like be ready for winter or something like that.
You have to be ready for winter?
I mean, do you think that our trees, that the ones that we have in Colombia, will be ready for winter? Like, are they
I
the
don't
ones that
think
they
so.
have in?
I don't think so because the trees here in Colombia or in this country are totally different to the ones that you can find in the north countries. For example, in the United States or Europe or Canada, you cannot find the same trees here. For example, they must have some roots, or they must have a different conditions that could help them to support or to support those extreme conditions. So we are a tropical country. So the conditions here are flexible or are better for the trees that we have here. For example, Guayacan, I don't know, another tree.
Saman, Ceiba.
Yes.
And also the animals will like suffer.
Even the pines here are different. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the pines.
They have bigger, really bigger pines. Ours will handle that kind of conditions. Even when it rains a lot here, they fell.
They fell
Yeah.
But imagine like, I don't know if because of the climate change, somehow the weather changes in some countries. For instance, I don't know, let's say that Alaska has no longer ice and stuff like that. So how I don't know, maybe the the trees, the earth itself, the place, the everything will change based on because of that. That would be like interesting, I don't know, to experience.
Maybe some cities
Yeah.
have like those conditions. For example, Bogota, Pasto, they are cold already. So maybe, actually, the last week they suffered like a hard rain time, and also with another thing that I forgot the name.
It's because here in Colombia we have a lot of weathers. So we have cold weather, hot weather, temperate weather. So we can find a variety of weathers here. So
In Cali, we were there.
yeah.
I would think that it's a matter about how the trees can evolve to like resist the cold. What would be that? Because for example, some trees are different from others and have a different specific characteristics than the others. And most of the Calis, the trees in Calis has the opportunity to evolve if the conditions are extremely hot or extremely freeze.
Of course, I agree
There-
with you because it's like the law of some laws of biology, the evolution. So they adapt or they die. Of course, they have to adapt their systems to these conditions. Otherwise, they will die.
You were saying something?
Yeah, I think that the only tree that could handle that kind of condition is the saman because they have strong structure and they have really big roots, and the components. Another fact that we have to think about, and it's not only the how resilient they are, is how the air will be distributed because they look upward because of the nitrogen, right? So if the climate change also change the way the components in the air are distributed, maybe those small trees, even if they are strong, wouldn't have enough size to get with the nitrogen in the air. So yeah, that's difficult to predict.
Very well. A person who did a past prediction would like to share something else, something different.
Yeah, here I have my first prediction. So basically, is located in line number 1. It says Johnny took his dog Scruffy out for a walk on a cold day in December. So it basically did the first prediction here that Johnny and Scruffy were going to get sick because of the cold. But then in the next 5 lines they solve Johnny's problem, but Scruffy doesn't get a sweet or something. So I guess his hair will be enough to take him healthy. But I don't know, they never got sick, so
it's okay.
Like best of wishes.
Very well.
Yeah, we can take that from the we can build another one tomorrow. They will have another one.
They won't have it
The
tomorrow.
flu is going to kill them.
The last question about tonight.
A nice quote.
What do you think about the organization mode that the text has? It could be narrative, specific, argumentative, or descriptive. What do you think?
It's a narrative one.
Narrative.
Narrative.
Or why?
Of
course.
Why it is
Because
narrative?
of the sentence.
Trust.
And also it involves a narrator.
And also because it has the typical or the common structure for a narrative text: introduction, the body, and the conclusion.
Banana
But
company.
the body doesn't have any problem, right?
Yeah, but it is something that it tells a story. It tells something that it's related to some habits or of a country, of a population.
Okay, guys. For concluding for tonight, will the super summarizer people can share about the resume about the text, and we finish.
Yeah. Okay, for giving a concrete summary, this story is about Johnny and his dog Scruffy. They went out for a walk in the neighborhood in a cold day of December. And on the walk, he saw his friend Marcus and his sister Mary building a snowman. Together they built an amazing snowman, and while they were going inside the house for drinking a hot cup of chocolate, suddenly Scruffy jumped up and knocked down the snowman. That is like the real and concrete version of this story. And now my partner will describe the characters.
Oh, yeah. Well, we have Johnny, that's like the main character. Remember that the setting is that Johnny's a neighborhood in winter season. Scruffy, that is the dog. That is how you imagine the dog. Marcus and Mary, and another thing that it's interesting for me is the way that the Marcus and Mary's mom appear, because I mean that's like they're. I feel like they with these characters they were trying to represent somehow what's important in childhood, that is fun and love, so and friendship of course. So I think that's why the characters appear there.
Very well. Thanks for participating in the Elite Circle. Bye. Have a really nice night.
Hey, have a good night. See you.